And then I'll try to keep track if there's any questions that pop up. Okay. Yeah, I actually just was telling Deshaun that I was rushing back from the kids' swim class, but their swim class, I mean, not that it would matter because I'm down in Texas, but it's indoors.
Nice.
And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I just did a million other things today." I was like, it's like, all right, yes, you beat me.
I got to clean up something real quick because it says
Yeah.
I might run out of space.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Reposting. Okay. Got it. Awesome. Hey, Seth, thanks for tuning in. Good idea. Just listen.
Seth centers the div.
It's
bold.
Love that.
All right. So thank you both for being here with me today. Hey, Lawrence. Hey, Amelia. We have, hang on. So we have Dan Vega joining us from a smoky part of the United States, in Ohio, right?
Yep, right outside of Cleveland.
Yeah. And we have Deshaun joining us from UberConf. So thank y'all so much for making the time. These are our two Java gurus that are chatting with us today. Deshaun's he's an Agentic AI Federation ambassador, the first cohort, and a Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom. And he and Dan are teammates. Dan is also a Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom and a Java champion with over 23 years of experience. If y'all would like to share any more about yourselves, please feel free, because I just wanted to throw a quick little summary out there.
I'll brag about Dan. He's also
I was going to brag about you.
Oh.
I was going to say, Deshaun and I feel like we have the best gig at all times, right? Like we love to go out and talk to people. We love to share our knowledge. We get to talk about Java and Spring every week, really every day. And you know, just like the ability to go out and like learn all these things, teach them back to community, get feedback from the community, take that back to the Spring team. It's a joy working with Deshaun, but it's also just a privilege to be able to do what we get to do every single day. So
before we started, I was saying, normally when I go to a conference, Dan's there with me. And yesterday I arrived here and I was like, well, where's Dan? And now it's just like we're at the conference doing the podcast. So yeah, I'm all feeling great right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And yes, I don't know if you mentioned it real quick while I was doing background things, but Dan and Deshaun also have a podcast that they do every week, right?
Yep. Usually every weekish. Yeah. Sometimes we don't, but Spring Office Hours, if you want to find out more, it's springofficehours.io. It is tough to keep up with all the things that are happening in Java and Spring, right? We get to do this for a living and dig into this stuff every single day, and we can't keep up. There's just so much going on. So we try to do an office hours where we let everyone know, hey, here's what's happening in the world of Spring this week. We have on guests and we talk about things in the Spring ecosystem and just try to keep people informed, because it is, like I said, it's a daunting task, especially with AI these days, to keep up with everything that's moving. So
yeah, with everything. I think we talk about Java and Spring, but I think every community has that need for what's going on this week. And it seems like weeks are moving even faster now, right? If you take vacation for a week, I mean, I don't know who does that, but if you take vacation for a week, sometimes you come back and you're like, what happened? What happened to my old version? What happened? All these things have changed. It's moving fast. And yeah, the office hours is a nice way of us, or for us, to kind of keep keep people up to date, whether they're joining the live session or listening to us, on their morning walk.
And also answer questions. We get a pretty large group of people in the live stream, and they're kind enough to bring their questions every week. And so we see if we can answer those, because it's hard to ask questions on like a YouTube video. Like, is this person ever going to get back to me? I run a YouTube channel. It's really hard to keep up with comments. So when you get these live streams together and you get people together, it's a nice place to kind of ask questions and kick off a discussion in another direction about a particular topic. So.
Yeah. And I only just started listening to the podcast. I'm a couple episodes in, and I already know that Deshaun's thing is to say, like, you don't want to leave hungry. So
that's exactly right. When you come to my house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. When you're here on the live stream, right, and you have questions, if you don't ask, that's your fault. Don't leave hungry.
Good. And that's why if you're at UberConf and you're watching Deshaun talk, you better ask those questions, because he's got answers. So
that's the best way to go, right? I was thinking about starting the presentation. You are here. Where are you trying to go? Like that's been in my head. But ask questions, because we can take it whichever way we need to go.
Yep.
Awesome. So speaking of questions, so I mentioned, I'm new to the Java world. I'm more of a front end girly, but I have a list of items that are trending that Dan kind of recommended, and I didn't realize that Java has a release every 6 months. And so one of the questions that I have is, like, how should teams think about adopting the new releases? Because that's pretty often. Every release, LTS, something in between.
Yeah, I think, this is one of the things that has really kept not only Java relevant, but really kind of moved us into this era that we're in now. And that is, back in the day, we had a release where like Java 8 had just a mammoth amount of features. And there was so much to like wrap your head around, like, how do I upgrade to this new version with all these new things? And that was fun, but it was also pretty daunting for teams to have to adopt this new version with all these new features. And then we moved to this 6-month cadence where we can constantly iterate. There's a JEP process, which stands for the JDK enhancement proposal. Things get filed, like new ideas are made, they're discussed, they're iterated on. And now every 6 months we get a new release. And these releases aren't like the JDK 8 release with like hundreds of features. They're a smaller subset of features, which is good. I think that makes it easier for teams to adopt. But also, as Deshaun and I always talk about, it's like not always about just like the new features for developers. I think the Java team, the Spring team as well, do a great job of addressing performance issues, security issues, which are always on our minds. So just being able to move to the latest version gets you a whole bunch of things for free in the kind of ideas of performance and security. So Deshaun likes to live on that N-0 life. Like stay on the latest version as quick as possible. But also, like, I think teams, you don't need to like, hey, I got to be on this version the day it comes out, but you got to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, then you get into this kind of stagnant release where you're like, oh, we'll get to Java 25 when we can, and when we can never seems to like fit in the budget of our teams, right? So I think just having a good plan to get to the next version as quick as possible is usually a good idea. What say you, Deshaun?
I will add, we're part of open source. Java's open source, OpenJDK. These 6-month release cycles, there's so many things that go into that. I remember it started with Kubernetes. Kubernetes had a quarterly release cadence, and they said, we're not going to support anything older than N-3, I believe. So you had to be like 9 months, you had to be changing and making updates. So that was a big deal. That's where I remember this cadence starting. But now the other piece is, you mentioned, hey, you don't have to be on the version the day it comes out. Well, some of the ecosystem are on that version because there's always the early access. Our friend Billy Carando is here as well, right? And he's always saying like, yeah, 26 is out, but 27 early access release is also out. And we are lucky that we get to work with customers and community that are using these early access releases, and they're giving feedback. So before Java 27 gets released, there's a whole part of the community that's waiting, looking forward to that Java 27 release, and they're adopting and giving feedback. That's a part of what we need. In order to have a 6-month cadence, that consistency is valuable. In order to do that successfully, you have to get people to adopt it quickly. So there's tons of reasons to.
I think a big part of that story too is that, Java as long as I can remember, going back to the beginning of time, has been backwards compatible. So Java takes this approach where it's like any feature that we are going to put into a final production release has to be ready to go. We can't just put something out there, hope the community likes it, and then we're kind of stuck with it, right? So we have these proposals that go out and people start giving feedback on these early previews. There may be a feature in JDK 26 that is in preview mode. So people are constantly testing that to see how they like it, how it works. And there have been times with, certain features where they said, let's rip it out. It's not working the way we intended. And I like this because once it makes it to a final release, then we know that thing has been tried and tested and it's ready to go for mass consumption, right?
And the JVM, I think, is in billions, right? There's billions of instances of the JVM around the world. Yeah. So these versions, a lot of times, they're getting tested. Like the tires have been kicked. Mm-hmm. The JVM is enterprise grade, production ready. It's a thing.
Yeah, and I Deshaun and I are fortunate enough to meet with a lot of customers that use Java and Spring, and so I think one of my favorite parts of my job is talking to some of these customers and finding out where Java is. And now, everywhere I go in the world, whether I'm at an airport or a bank, I'm like, oh, that runs on Java, and that's just really cool to me. So
yeah, it is. But this for us, this. Staying on track, just the Java cadence, that's important. The Spring framework, aligning with that Java cadence is important. So Spring also has a 6-month release for Spring Boot. And the Spring framework, the underlying core framework, has an annual cadence. It's a little bit more involved, a little bit bigger. Okay. And everything else builds on top of it. So it's got an annual cadence. But yeah, having this regular cadence is important to the future of software.
So does the Spring cadence, so you said that coincides? They update?
They don't align. They're kind of shifted a little bit. What the Spring team is trying to do is be ready for the next Java release so that, hey, what we're doing today is ready to accept those features. And that's why they align. Okay. Yeah, it's not in lockstep. So you're not doing a Java upgrade and a Spring upgrade at the same time is the idea.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so does that sort of... I don't know, I guess convince people to kind of keep up more with the upgrades?
We spend a lot of time in this space. The Spring team has tried to make it easy. They've always done a good job, right? Spring has been around for 20 plus years. And they've always had these kind of migration docs to make it easy for people to upgrade. And they've continued to do that. So we try to make it easy to upgrade. That upgrade cadence has become more important because not necessarily because of Spring and Java, but because of the surrounding ecosystem, this ability, this muscle in order to take updates, right? The more software that you take to production, the more software you have to maintain. And that ability to maintain software that's now kind of necessary, especially now that we have AI generating more software. So more software going to production, more software to maintain. This muscle of keeping things patched is as important. It's more important than ever. And it's not just Spring and Java. I'm also a fan of frameworks like Angular, right? Angular's been around and had these big, massive upgrades. Luckily, in the Java ecosystem, we're pretty good with backwards compatibility. But some of the other languages, some of the other frameworks that are out there, they've been around for a long time. They've got massive communities, and this upgrade muscle still needs to be flexed, and it's across the entire stack.
And I think, that's part of Deshaun and I's job is we go out and talk about what's new in the newest release. Yes, there's release notes, but we have these office hour sessions where it's like, let's break down what was released. Let's talk about it. The team at Oracle, the Java developer relations team, does the same. You'll find Billy's at UberConf with Deshaun. He'll be probably talking a lot about JDK 26. So
27.
And 27. Yeah. So it's part of our job to go out there and educate the community on what's new. To get them excited to upgrade, right? Like, we can say there's a new version out there, but we want you to be on the newest version. I mean, there's no cost to you to upgrade from Spring Boot 3.5 to 4, right? But we want you on the latest version to take advantage of all these security fixes, to take advantage of performance, and obviously the new features. So
the new features. So Roxy, I'm sorry, we could talk about this all day. I'm jumping in because the thing is, I had a conversation earlier today, and the team, they were on a version that didn't allow you to use Spring AI. AI is hot right now. Everybody wants to do it. That's what companies are hiring and firing for. Is AI is a big part. Developers are needing to add this to their tool belt. But if you're stuck using one of the older versions of Spring, you can't take advantage of Spring AI. So that's another kind of reason why we want you to get to the newer versions of Spring, so you can take advantage of all the newer features in Spring, like Spring AI.
Java rules. I just I heard in my head, Doyle rules.
Oh yeah. Doyle, I have a feeling your family's gonna go down real soon. I love Billy Madison.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of AI, I know I whatever episode I listened to most recently, I know y'all were going on about how you have like your systems in place and how you're integrating AI, but you're not completely relying on it. What's a Java fundamental that you've seen AI tools get consistently wrong?
I don't know that it's a fundamental for me, but just like everything else, large language models are trained on a certain set of data up to a certain point. So with Java and Spring, this could be a really good thing. This can also be a really bad thing because you have 30 years of Java, 20 some years of Spring. It's been trained on all this data. So it doesn't necessarily know what are the current best practices I should use. So a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, there are some times where you might ask it to generate some code and it just kind of outputs something that it found on Stack Overflow or Reddit, which is not always the best answer, right?
Right.
So for me, it still takes a human in the loop to be able to say that's not a current best practice. I need you to generate code that looks more like this. And you could do this through a bunch of things. You can iterate on it. You can go into a plan mode where I don't actually write any code. I try to come up with a plan before I do something. You can use things like skills that kind of tailor the large language models to how your team or how you're used to writing code. There are a bunch of things that you can do to it, but I think just understanding that this is not a magic button. You can't just push this and get the exact output that you should. You still need to understand the language, the framework, to be able to steer it in the right direction.
Right, true. And I feel like that's across the board with languages.
Yep.
Yeah, the consistent thing is I lean into not the frontier models. I like to say I don't have cloud money. I don't have money for the big fancy models. I have Raspberry Pi money. So I use models that can run on Raspberry Pis. A lot of times these smaller models are older. And the thing that they consistently get wrong is they don't know what's the latest version of Java. They don't know what's the latest version of Spring or whatever I'm using. That's kind of the first thing I need to do is set the context. Here's the stack. Once I've done that, then I'm usually down the right path, as long as I can give it some tools to make sure they can go get the latest information, point it to where the Java docs are, point it to where the Spring documentation is, for example. But
and I think
it gets wrong.
And whether you're a back-end developer using Java or a front-end developer, I feel like this is the same, but I always bootstrap my projects the way that I would today. I'm not using AI for that, right? So I will, if there is start.spring.io, it's a way to generate bootstrap a project. I'm not asking AI to do that because it doesn't have the current up-to-date structure on how an application should look. The same would go for Angular or Vue, whatever technology you're using, right? So I'm still using a lot of the tools that I'm used to using to maybe bootstrap a project. and then bring in AI if I need to like build out a feature or something.
Diwakar come in with violence. He came in with the chat. He says Python is easier to implement and faster than Java in AI. I'm like, what are you doing?
I love this.
He's getting his information from Stack Overflow.
No, I love this. It's almost like he tossed up a softball for me, Deshaun, because I just wrote an article on this yesterday.
Knock it out.
I know. Take the swing.
I think, we get this a lot. I get a lot of questions that says like, okay, we want to work with AI. It's been associated with Python forever. I'm just going to use Python. And so I have a couple thoughts on this. One, when it comes to AI, the term AI is a pretty large term, right? It encompasses a lot of different things. If we're talking about AI when it comes to machine learning and data science, Python has been there forever, and we're not here to debate that side of the story. While Java is making some ground there, but Python, for all of the frameworks and libraries it has in the MLDL space, it's great for that. But I think as application developers, whether we're on the front end and the back end, most of us are just consumers of large language models now that all have a REST endpoint. And when we talk about building new features or generative AI features into new applications or existing applications, this is what we're doing now. We're not training large language models. We are trying to integrate this functionality into our applications. So I would say on the flip side of that this is a perfect use case for Java because Java has lived in the enterprise. We have been there for a long time. We are in that space. Java has, as Deshaun said, serving billions of requests per day in that space. We have all of the tools for things like scalability, security, observability. Java is very well represented in the enterprise. And so if we're talking about adding new features or generative AI features to existing applications, you have a choice. Use what's already there and battle test it at scale, or try to re-platform your team over to Python to change out all your infrastructure. For what gain? I don't think that working with AI in Python is easier than building it into an existing Java application. So if you want to debate that, sure. If you're on the MLDL side, fine. But if you're just integrating into applications, I don't think you'll find a better place than Java. So
I've been saying Python is great for notebooks, right? If you're doing notebooks, that's a perfect place for Python. But in the enterprise, that's not the right place. You might find it easier to get started because you can copy and paste. I understand, again, for notebooks. But what's running in the enterprise, there's a big difference. We can look, and there's a good one from, I think it was a New Stack article in 2018 that talked about language efficiency. Java was in the top 5. It was the number 1 JVM, virtual machine language. I don't remember what was that. I think it was C, C++. Was it Ada and Go?
Yeah, maybe. Josh would know.
Yep, I remember. But Java was 5. Python was like 30th, 39th language-wise, and we've already seen it. We've already seen customers. We work with customers that have taken their AI that's been around, right? The ML workflows that's been around for a decade plus, but now we're in the Gen AI era. Now we're trying to take these things to production. The cost of running Python in the data center, again, summarizing this efficiency article from the New Stack, 38 times more than running the same thing in Java. So when we're talking about gigawatt data centers, you're going to need 38 times more of those if you're taking Python to production than you would if you were using Java. So that's out there. Thanks for that softball question. We'll take those anytime. And yeah.
And again, I think I just need to make the point that I think earlier on in my career, I was very much this is the framework and this is the language everybody should use, right? Because when you start learning something, you're very tied to it. I've grown a little bit older now. I've been around 25 years plus, and I am much more a right tool for the right job. And again, for me, if you're at the enterprise level and you're already using Java, there's no need to shift to another language to take advantage of AI. Likewise, if you're using some other language already, like Go or Node or whatever the case may be, we're all consumers of large language models now, right? We're not training the models. We're actually trying to consume them. So
yeah, and Java's moving up. Java's catching up. We have Project Babylon, which is going to allow us to take advantage and interface directly with other types of CPUs, GPUs, etc. And the language is also catching up. So where I've been saying Python is great for notebooks, guess what? Java 25, Java's great for notebooks too, because now I don't have to compile. I don't have to send bytecode. I can have it done on the fly. So yeah, Java keeps on getting better. And there's a lot of like old arguments that are just not valid anymore. So yeah, if you're getting your data from 2001, and again, for whatever 30 plus years now, Java's dead. Java's dead. Rest in peace, Java. We've been hearing that for 30-ish years.
Yeah, Chris.
Love that.
Oh, I don't know. Magnitude of scale has many layers these days in tech. Well put on data center. Compute costs, use case context is just as important as model context.
Absolutely. And there's definitely, hands down, there's way more Java running in production than there is Python. So yeah, when we're talking to developers and they're trying to find their way in, the best way in, unless you're going to academia, right? And data science, that's a different field. But for enterprise application development, startups even, Java is the way if you're wanting to take advantage of this AI ecosystem. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody could spark some.
Your check is in the mail, sir.
Lawrence does add, Python is actually an older language. Python is also, with their ecosystem, they said, hey, with version 3, you got to upgrade the whole bit. Your Python 2 code, you got to rewrite it. Python hasn't done a good job of making it backwards compatible. Maybe that has something to do with its adoption. Maybe not. But yeah, they're totally different languages for different tasks. That's okay.
Yep. Right tool for the right job.
And on the topic of AI and tools and everything, what sort of AI do y'all have in your toolkit? Like, what is something that you use daily? Yeah, I see a smile on Deshaun's face. You want to talk about it?
You go, Deshaun.
Well, like I said, I'm using off-the-shelf models. I have dozens of models that are running, things that can be downloaded. I've recently gotten my hands on models that I can run in Olama that are doing text or image generation and video generation, off-the-shelf models that I can run, and I can do these things on my laptop. So that was kind of a big gap between what we could do in the frontier models, what we could do on the ChatGPTs and Claudes. We were able to generate these things in their apps, but doing that locally on a Raspberry Pi, there was a big gap. There was a lot of extra steps I had to go to get the models in place, to get the harnesses in place in order to generate models. And now that gap is non-existent, right? I can do these things. So I pull a lot of models off the shelf. I have some favorites, and yeah, that's where I'm spending a lot of my time. I do have accounts on the frontier models. I use them when I'm in a crunch, but my day-to-day, I'm using off-the-shelf models on my own hardware.
Yeah, for me, it's been an exciting couple of years playing around, having all these new tools available to me, and I've just been trying to learn the best ways to use them. And for me, that's always been, I think as a programmer, I've always kind of done this. I am trying to take the things that are annoying that I don't want to do and automate them. I've always done this, whether it's a plugin for an IDE or some kind of script that I can run. I've always trying to automate the things that I don't want to work on to free me up to work on other things. And this era has just accelerated that, 100 times fold. Because before, if I wanted to write a bash script, I don't write bash every day. So I go Google and Stack Overflow and how do I write this script? And now it's just giving me the ability to quickly generate something like that. So for me, I've been using a lot of the command line tools, whether it's Claude Code or Codex or Gemini CLI. I've lived in the terminal a lot, so that's been a fun place to be. I was talking to Deshaun either this week or last week. I've been using the desktop apps more, so Claude Desktop or OpenAI's app. Those have been getting really good for like multi sessions, if you will. So yeah, this is to me like there's a lot of things going on in the industry. A lot of developers come up to both Deshaun and I, and hey, we're really scared with where things are heading. I am not. I am more excited than ever to build things. Like I found out something about myself over the last few years that I didn't realize I was a part of me. I don't actually like typing out code. I am a problem solver. I like building things, and this era of the tools that are available to us has just kind of accelerated that. Like I get to build all kinds of things, things that I would not have even touched before, right? Because like I don't have the capacity to do that. So these tools are exciting, and I'm just having a blast with them. So
there's an add-on here as we let AI do more for us. I'm also of the mind that I had Bash, Go, Ruby. I had all the languages because the examples that I found, that was the fastest path to get to something that worked. So I had code that was written in tons of languages, but it was around Java 17, Spring 6, Spring Boot 3. I realized that I can kind of give myself these same tools. I can do it all in Java because we had Spring Shell. We had all these other projects. So I could rewrite all of these other things. And I was doing that before I had Gen AI, but now it's even easier. Now I have these models that can help me rewrite some old Bash that I wrote or some old COBOL that I wrote. I can have it rewrite it into Spring and Java, and I can give myself a CLI. I can give myself a native CLI on Mac, on Windows, on Linux. And this is a great place to be. So I literally have been removing all of the other languages because that's not where my expertise is. And when I'm using Gen AI, I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to see, ooh, that doesn't look right. Or I might run into a problem. So I've still got my expertise built on top of Java and Spring. But with Gen AI, I'm able to kind of open up, expand my domain in whichever way I want to. Again, you are here, but I can go whichever way I want. But having that grounded center of here's the language that I know. Vibe coding is a thing. But when I do it, I have some expertise that goes in so I can give some constructive feedback to whichever model I'm using.
Thank you. You mentioned, I think you mentioned vulnerabilities, unless I'm just making that up in my head.
That's one thing they like to talk about.
Yeah, throw it out
there. Like maybe that's just where I was headed. But yeah, so because of AI, like there's a lot of vulnerabilities popping up, right? But is it because AI is able to, surface them faster, or is using AI, however it is you're using it, whether you're vibe coding or just, not leaning on it quite as much, is it AI that's creating them?
All the things. Yeah.
All of the above. So one of the things that I want to plant, there was a MIT study, I believe it was in February, where they said, was that February? 95% of all AI projects, all these efforts, 95% of them are failing. They're not making it to production. So we're generating a bunch of code, but it's not making it to production. We can see GitHub, we can see how much GitHub has been affected by all the new AI that's generating things. But I don't think AI is generating more CVEs showing up in production. What I do think is it's finding more, because it's not just the good guys that have AI. The bad guys have it too. The bad actors have it. And what we've seen, our ecosystem, the open source community, they've been putting a lot of effort into, I want to make sure that the enterprise that we've built is secure. Everybody has actually saying, so they're going out, they're scanning the open source ecosystem. They're looking for things that we haven't caught. FreeBSD recently uncovered a vulnerability that existed in what I consider FreeBSD the most secure operating system available. And this CVE, this vulnerability,
20 years
for 20 years. Yeah. So, but that just came up now because the tools make it possible. We don't have to have the expertise. We don't have to be security experts to go and find these things. We've got models that are trained on all the security expertise that existed in the internet, right? So everybody has access to these tools. Everybody's trying to, play the red game and the blue game. We got to protect ourselves. So the security advisories, the good guys are sharing like, hey, this might be a problem. This might be a problem. And the open source ecosystem has to react. Unfortunately, we have some of the maintainers that have said, this is just too much. I don't want the risk, nor do I have the time to take care of all these advisories, all these things that are coming in for my one little project with one maintainer on it. And they've thrown up their hands. So I hope that there's a turn coming, but this wave of AI has affected the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, and I'll add something to that. So yes, the newer models are coming out. They're becoming more capable. They're able to find these vulnerabilities, whether it's in Spring or Java or whatever open source project we're talking about, right? The other side of the house is once these are found, it takes a special kind of talent to be able to exploit these CVs. You can't just like go do, I'm going to go like exploit this like 20-year-old exploit that just got found. Like you can't just do that unless you're a security expert or probably 0.1% of the software engineering population, right? But now with AI, now you can say, here's a CV. How do I exploit this? So the bad actors have access to this as well. And as Deshaun likes to talk about a lot, is a lot of these CVEs being found aren't like 0-day vulnerabilities. They're not going to like end the world, but they could be a level 3, 4, 5. And what you can start to do with these AI system is chain these vulnerabilities together. So now I take a 3, a 4, and a 2, and all of a sudden I have a pretty high vulnerability that patched together could cause a lot of harm. So it takes a lot to be able to find them. It takes a lot to be able to exploit them. And now putting all of this together, this is why we've seen a huge uptick in open source, because the world does run on open source. Everything out there is kind of put together on the backbones of these open source projects. And if things are being found now, we need to be able to react to them. So.
Yeah, no, that's good points on both sides of my very muddled up question.
It's an interesting times that we live in, for sure. We don't need to go too far into it, but we can just talk about it from the Spring side of the house. We used to see an average of 6.4 vulnerabilities, tracked per month. I think we are, I think April we hit 422 vulnerabilities. So that is a pretty huge uptick. Now, I'm not saying it's going to keep going like that, but as models get better, we might find more. So I want to just give a huge kudos to the Spring team who have been dealing with this. Like there is a lot of things out there that they have to deal with right now, but they are doing an amazing job of making sure these, it's not just about fixing them, right? Like when you get 422 issues filed, you have to triage them. You have to go through and like, which one of these are actually real? Which ones do we need to prioritize? Which ones do we need to fix right away, right? So there's a lot that goes into people pointing tools at projects and saying, here's some issues. And I'll just say, because we're close to the Spring team, big hats off to them for everything they're doing there.
Because we know
yeah, go ahead.
There's millions of developers that they've built their careers on top of Spring, and hundreds of thousands of enterprises have built on top of Spring. So we know the responsibility, we know the weight that the Spring team is carrying when there's a CVE that's found in all the versions. They have, they're not taking it lightly. Right? The entire community is rooting for them and wanting them to be well rested and wanting them to take care of us, because my money, right? My PII, my healthcare information, all of that is likely sitting on top of Spring. So I want these things patched and secured. So thank you. Yes. Thank you, Spring team.
So speaking of Spring, what is the most impactful change in Spring Boot 4, would you say? That doesn't get discussed enough, or maybe it does.
For me, something the Spring team wanted to do for a long time was modularize Spring Boot. And this was like, they have ideas of things they want to put on the back or put on the list for the next version. And this just kind of took a back seat for a little while. And I know Phil talks about this a lot, but the idea that Spring, when it started, was, we had this idea of a huge auto configuration module. And when Spring Boot started, it was pretty small. So we could just ship this module to every single app. And the idea was that anything that you needed to configure in Spring, it was in this one jar file, and we would just ship it with every project. As Spring grew and the ecosystem grew, that one single jar got pretty big. It went from like 155 KB to like 2 megs or something. And most of the time you wouldn't need all of that in there. And so they went on and set out to kind of modularize Spring and break these things out into modules so that when you bring in something like Spring and Web MVC, that you aren't bringing in like some other dependency that doesn't really, or the configuration that doesn't need to be there. So that I think was a big change for them. And I really appreciate, just having a faster, lighter artifact at the end of the day when I'm not using 80% of that stuff that was in there. So that was a big one for me.
I'm a big fan of all the performance things. The being able to adopt the latest and greatest features of the new Java versions, that's already in there. So you can use Java 25. And Spring has a baseline, right? The latest versions of Spring are baselined on Java 17. So if you want to use older JVMs, use older versions of Spring. But to be on the latest and greatest, you got to be at least Java 17. But it's got full support for Java 25. So you have this range of things you can do, but you can take advantage of all the cool things that are happening in Java 25. That's probably my number one thing. All the work that's gone into runtime efficiency, speed, performance. And then the other big one for me is the open telemetry support. Open telemetry is another really popular protocol where that whole observability space has kind of been chopped up and carved up. And finally, they're coming to some agreement on here's how we want to send observability things. And all of that support is now in Spring Boot 4. So those are probably my top, the performance and the open telemetry support. And those are also hot topics that we hear from the ecosystem. It's like, hey, we want to know more about this. Why aren't people talking more about this? We get it.
And so I know y'all earlier mentioned, that you want teams and organizations, they should just keep up with every update, right? But if there's teams that are still on Spring Boot 2 or 3, what would the conversation look like for trying to convince them that, stay up to date?
I'm going to go ahead and take this one, Dan, because this is near and dear. The Spring
Deshaun
team
started crying a little when you said that to him.
Yeah, a little. The Spring team they're busy. They're busy taking care of stuff, and they're only so big. They can't take care of all the versions, so they have a support window. So Spring Boot 1, Spring Boot 2 are no longer supported by open source. So we've got our core team here at Broadcom, but there's also a bunch of other contributors in the open source. They don't have time to be looking backwards. So the goal, everybody wants you to be on the latest and greatest, but we understand, right? There are enterprises that have been built on top of these versions, and they're trying to take care of all the new things, what's happening on this side of the world, and markets changing. So they've been addressing new things, and there's sometimes legacy or legendary code that's been there. And unfortunately, it's not getting patched. So now we're in this wave of AI. I'm going to use Spring Boot 2.7 as the example. 2.7, major minor version, it's no longer in open source support. But if you can get there, you can get commercial support from Spring. So you have this kind of runway. Again, if you're building your enterprise on top of it, reach out, get a support contract, and you can get some of these extra versions, right? So you can stay on an older version, even though it's not getting support in open source, it's still getting commercial patches, even though it's not going to get backport features, but it'll stay patched, it'll stay secure. And that's got a few more years. But you also get, with that support, you get tooling that helps you upgrade to the latest versions. So this is the place where I play a lot. And that is a huge part, is if you're on an old version of Spring, you've got to stay secure. So you got two options. You either get support, so you can get those patched versions, or you get upgraded to the latest and greatest. Either way, the commercial support from Spring has a solution for you.
I will say not even 2.x. The Spring Boot 3.5 went out of support last month for open source support. And the idea here is, again, if you need to stay on those versions, get commercial support. But if you don't, we just want you to have a plan to upgrade to 4.0 or 4.1 So I tell organizations all the time, again, don't be reactive to things like, oh, CVEs came out, or, oh, this thing's no longer working. Now we have to cut down development for a couple weeks and get everything up and running. Be proactive with this. Don't need to be on the version the day it comes out, but have a plan so that when these things come up, you're not bitten by them. You have a plan to kind of get to a certain version. And I think that really should be the plan for any kind of software, right? Not just whatever version of Java or Spring that you're on, but whatever version of Angular or Vue, whatever the case may be, you should have a plan to upgrade, and you need to take time to do that. And I always go back, I would say, we talk to a lot of enterprise organizations. We tell them, hey, you're using all these AI tools and you're 10 times more productive now, right? Take some time to address some of the things that you wouldn't have in the past, right? Like, let's go ahead and make this a priority now that we have this extra time, not just like biting off a few more issues instead of focusing on this. So
software development looks different because of AI, because of the security landscape, because everybody has access to AI. Software development looks different. And we're in a moment where what we were doing, I was going to say last year, but last month, what we were doing last month is different. Everything has changed, and now there's just a new, what a software developer looks like. The day-to-day for a software developer is going to be different going forward. And maintaining software is a very important part of that process. It's not just creating, it's maintaining.
Yeah, no, sorry. Sometimes.
Love it.
Y'all got a few shout outs coming in earlier. So I have somewhat of, it's not off topic, but if you want, feel free to please share anything else about the Java ecosystem. I wanted to ask you about your favorite. I mean, Deshaun, you're currently at a conference, but about your favorite conferences or ways that you are able to interact with the Java community or just the dev community in general. I feel like it's very important, and I know in one of the episodes that I just listened to, y'all mention community and interacting with people in real life and the importance of that.
Me.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to take Deshaun's answer, but I don't care. DevNexus in Atlanta, definitely one of my favorite conferences. I always went to conferences and I was able to like find my people, the Java devs, the Spring devs. You go to DevNexus, they're all my people, and I love going to DevNexus. The speakers there are amazing. The community there is amazing, and the sessions are awesome. So I'll say DevNexus is one of my favorites. Also, Spring IO which has been in Barcelona, which is moving to Valencia next year, is an awesome spring conference. Sergey puts on an awesome conference there. Really big fans of those conferences. There are so many conferences I can mention, but those two I'm going to mention off top.
I'm at UberConf. This is my first visit. It's always been on my radar. And this is a Java-centric conference. So this is on my radar. I'd say that probably my number 3, but also the Java user groups. Java user groups exist all over the world. And these are not conferences, not things. These are things you can show up to. Oftentimes they'll have pizza or burritos or something. So you can go and hang out. But those groups, I got to travel. I got to see some of the other groups around the world. They're usually outside of work hours. And it's the people that have decided to not go home. And I'm stealing Josh Long's phrasing. They're the people that decided not to go home to be with their family. Instead, they decided to gather with other Java developers in their region, in their community, and spend time with them. Usually it's once a month. But this, I think I can say it safely. There's kind of a resurgence in this, at least in the Americas, where we're starting to get out. We're starting to see conferences getting bigger and these user groups getting bigger. And the ecosystem is massive. There's lots of options for you to choose. But the Java user groups are definitely trending in the right direction. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the one that we do in Kansas City with my teammate here, Billy Carando. And Dan, you're also co-organizer?
Yeah, organizer now of the Cleveland Java user group. So yes.
Oh, nice.
There you go. Yeah.
So yes,
that's
user groups
another option.
are great. Yeah, and if you've never been to any type of user group meeting, definitely suggest going. As Deshaun said, you get that sense of community on a smaller scale, but people within your community. And also, if you've ever had an interest in speaking, this is a really good place to get started. I think I gave my first talk at a user group meeting, and kind of, everything's escalated from there. But it's a really good place to meet people, and if you're interested in speaking, a great place to start. So
Why should developers be interested in speaking, Dan? What does that do for a developer?
I don't know that I could speak for everyone. I can speak for me. One of the things, like, I really love to learn. And so for me, if you wanted me to come present at your user group on a new topic that I don't know that well, one, I got to learn that to just understand it at a surface level. But then two, if I know I'm speaking at your user group about this thing, I need to know it a little bit better, right? I need to be able to speak about this and answer questions on it. I don't need to know everything, but I got to be one step ahead of you. And so for me, it really helps me learn. On a selfish level, I love learning things, so it helps me learn new things. But two, it also it helps me be a part of a community. And I think community for me has always, like, it's driven everything in my career. So going to a user group meeting, just kind of connecting with others in the community, speaking, again, just kind of brought me closer to people in that community, and then kind of made me an authority on some topics. So then I might get recommended for a position somewhere. I might make a connection with someone at another company somewhere. And those little connections spawned into bigger connections and bigger connections. And everything that has happened in my career is because of networking, like talking to others in the community at conferences, at user group meetings. So I owe it all to that and being a part of a community. If I sat there and just went to work and didn't talk to anyone and never talked to other people in the community, I don't know that all these great things would have happened for me. So I'm big on that.
It only takes this much to set yourself apart from the rest of the group, and putting yourself out there on stage, all the things that learning, but also learning it enough where you can teach it. That's huge. If you can feel confident enough, and you don't have to teach it to PhDs, if you can learn enough to teach it to your local elementary schools, right? We have the code.org. If you can go and teach it to the middle schools, to the high schools, having that much confidence to go out and be able to teach, that sets you apart. And it only takes this much to set you apart. And once you've started down that path, once you realize, hey, I learned topic really well when I planned to deliver it. Conference-driven development. When I've done that exercise enough, you realize this is actually a good way to learn. And whether I'm doing it for a conference or just doing it on a live stream, this is a valid approach. There you go. Learn today, teach tomorrow. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I would just another tip for anyone who wants to do that, but is kind of afraid to get up in front of a group and talk about that. A couple things I'll say to that is, one, you don't need to be an expert. You just need to be one step ahead of everybody else in the room. So that's a pretty safe space to get to. Like, I just need to know it a little bit more than the audience that I'm talking to. Two, this took me a very long time to learn, but being able to say, I don't know, is a perfectly acceptable answer. If somebody asked me a question on stage 20 years ago, I would have rambled and probably said the wrong thing. Now I just say, I don't know, but you know what? I'll reach out to some people on the Spring team and I'll see if I can get you an answer. So it's okay to say that. Nobody's going to go, boo, get off the stage. You don't know the answer. So yeah, just a couple tips there.
Yeah, I started trying to throw in, let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? I know people that might, so I'll let you know. Yeah. Now you could probably just say, I don't know. Go ask your robot friends.
Yeah, there you go. Why don't you Google it? Yeah, if I ever say I don't know, my kids now, they're like, can't you just ask your phone? I'm like,
I could, but there's not a teaching moment there.
yeah. So in the last about 5 minutes or so that we have, I know y'all are both incredibly busy. Deshaun, you have about 5 million things on your plate just today. What are some topics, or are any bragging you want to do on yourself that you'd like to touch on before we head out?
I'm going to brag on Dan. As we already saw in the chat, he has a great YouTube channel. He's been doing it for a very long time, and he's constantly putting out new content. So you have Spring Office Hours, which you do together, but you also have his deep dive content on learning new things. If you want to keep up with what's going on, you can put Dan on a video on the side and just keep up with his content. You'll be in a really good shape.
That's awesome. I'm gonna brag on Deshaun. Anytime I'm at a conference and Deshaun's on stage, this guy brings the energy like nobody else. He's great at teaching, but he's also great at just kind of pulling you into his world. So Deshaun.com, you can find out where he is. And if you've seen any of his live streams or his videos, or if he's at a conference like UberConf, make sure you're in the room with him.
Ask the questions.
Yes.
Hungry.
Don't leave hungry.
Yeah, no, and I believe it, because both of you speak with your hands a lot, and I feel like I have to. When I first started streaming, I'm new to streaming. I have to control my hands, so it's nice to see that maybe I don't have to.
I probably should. I got the funniest comment on a YouTube video, probably like a week or two ago, and it said, "Dan, it doesn't look like it, but if I feel like you have some Italian in you because you use your hands a lot, and I do have Northern Italian in me." So you were right, sir.
There you go.
Yeah, no, because Jason commented earlier, because Deshaun's hands are, but yours too. Like you're fine.
Yep.
Jazz hands.
You both are very,
All over.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited. Where are y'all speaking next? So people can come see you.
We're going to be at KCDC in September.
Oh, yeah.
Both of
That'll
us.
be fun. September's going to be busy. danvega.dev. I have a speaking page on there, but yeah, I'll be at CYC. Commit your code. That's the first one in September, and then KCDC. So,
yep. All my events are also on Deshaun.com. KCDC, I know, is on there. VMware Explorer is a big conference. I'll be there as well.
Awesome. Well, I hope to run into you one day, Deshaun. I know that I will meet Dan at CYC. So that'll be really cool. And I appreciate you so much for making the time to come.
Thank you for setting this up.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. Well, anytime somebody reaches out to us and say, "Hey, do you want to talk for an hour about Java?" We're like, "Yes, please." Sign us up for that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that this could replace, your usual conference get together.
Yep. Love that.
Build that hole. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again so much. And thank you to everyone in the audience that stopped by. Oh,
yeah.
There's
great questions, everyone.
Fantastic.
There you go. Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Take care.
See ya.